Welcome back to Flint Creek Transport. My name is Justin. Check out this truck behind me. This is a Ryder truck that we had got. I don't know if you guys remember, I got an International maybe 2 months ago, and I was only going to keep it short term. Well, it turned into being a few months or 2 months or something. And that truck actually had some issues at ProStar International that I picked up. They swapped it out and they gave us this truck. This is a Freightliner. Here you see it, and this is what it is, basically how I see it. I don't even know model numbers and things like that anymore with Freightliners. Things have changed so much. I'm a lot more up to date with Kenworths, but Freightliner, not really. So we're gonna figure out what engine, transmission. I think this one's an automatic, so we'll take it for a little cruise and check it out. So I see right here on the side it says Cascadia. I don't know if they got away from the numbers, but we're gonna flip this hood open and see what it's got underneath the hood. I'm guessing it's a Mercedes of some sort. See if I can figure this out. Okay. There we go. Well, here you go, guys. It looks to me like a Mercedes. Let's see this side. Hopefully they'll tell me more. Detroit DD13. Here it is. My bad, I thought it was a Mercedes. So 13-liter Detroit. I don't even know the relationship anymore between Mercedes and Detroit, Mercedes, whatever it is. I don't know, probably Detroit somewhere. Might say Mercedes somewhere else. Basically what this means, 13-liter Detroit. Yeah, there it says it too. I was looking for anything else with more like a VIN or horsepower rating, but I don't see it. I don't know. I'll check it out online and we'll see what kind of horsepower rating they put in these 13 liters. Now they probably got some tricky way to shut this hood. Let's see what happens. Oh, it does shut. Oh, it's on dampened shock. Look at that. As far as the rest of this truck, guys, obviously you can see this is a newer truck. Emissions, basically brand new truck, like I said earlier. Airliner suspension. I'm not familiar with Freightliner suspension, but gives you a little idea. Quick look here. Sitting on low pro 22.5s. Nice big cab. Let's see the let's check out leg room here. See, it goes back pretty far. I'm a tall dude. As I said, this truck is just a rental. We'll get this thing fired up here. There says Detroit. 12,000 miles, guys. Sorry, 13,000 miles. 13,514 miles. Just playing around with this. Man, driver assistance. It's got a lot of things. I can already tell you, I don't like this seat. Something is not sitting right. It's too wide or something. I don't know. It's crazy. So check it out. No gear shifter. Just a dirty floor. I gotta figure out the gear shifter on this. Actually, I'll show you. Right here. So, no clutch. Just a brake. Now I gotta put it in drive. Looks like drive, neutral, reverse. We're gonna go into drive. Here we go. As always. So I'm gonna take this thing out on the road and we're gonna see what it does going down the road. And then I also will go over some fuel economy numbers with you guys. And this truck we've been running for about 2 months up in Rochester. The guy that was running this truck was running truck number 118 just before this, and then we brought it down because we needed to use it. So I'm going to compare fuel economy between truck number 118 for the months prior, and then I'm going to compare it to what this thing was getting on average. So we wrote a lot of this stuff down, and we'll see what fuel economy, how that compares. It's, I say, not really a fair comparison starting right off, because this is a 13 liter, probably a 12 something, 12.9, or I'm not sure what Detroit's is, but basically a 13 liter Detroit compared to a 15 liter Cat. Cat has a 10 speed. I think this is an 8. It says, I don't know if that's supposed to be an 8. Let me see if I can put it in manual. I'll see. We'll see what gear this thing goes up to. But it says it's in third now, and it's in economy mode. We're going to see how it compares fuel economy wise. That's the driver assist. So I'm getting a little bit off to the side, right? As soon as I get over to the white line, it makes that stupid noise. This thing pegs out at about 63. So I just pulled off along the road. I'm just gonna back in. I'm just gonna back in nice and slow and see how it does. Actually not too bad. Surprisingly, I just wanted to see how slow I could back in. It'll be interesting to see how it does loaded. I'll tell you, this thing, it's pretty crazy, because when you're watching it shift, the RPMs only go to like about 1400, and then it drops it'll shift. So it's basically, I think it's because it's set on economy. So I'm gonna bump it up to performance. See right in there, you can see economy, and I'm going to go to performance, and we're going to try it again. We're going to see if we can get these RPMs to go up any higher. So it looks like a 12-speed transmission. I don't know if they would call this a full automatic. I don't think they would, but maybe it is. I tell you, I do not know much about these transmissions on these trucks. I'm not sure what that was. It started beeping at me. So I'm not sure about these transmissions on these trucks, but I'm going to go back to the office and I'll do a little bit of research and I'll find out what it is. So we'll check it out. I'll let you guys know. So just hang tight, hang tight. Let's get going here. So like, I'm flat out right now. So it looks like performance mode will take it up to about 1600 RPMs, whereas economy mode will take it to 1400 RPMs. It's a little more aggressive downshifting as well. So I'm going to try to ease off, inch off here. Got back. What I really want to do is hook up to that trailer that's loaded. The fun thing to do is to come up with like a test loop where, say maybe we run a truck 100 miles or 50 miles and have the same route, put on the same weight, just to kind of give an idea of how these trucks run. In our application, I love to be able to pull 100,000 pounds, which is 90% of our work. We're hauling heavy. In this application, what this guy's doing, he's just going from job to job, unloading material, reloading material, and he's pulling these flatbed trailers. So when the flatbed trailers are empty, they pull pretty easy. And he's got a forklift attached on the back of the trailers. So, and a lot of it's drop and hook, but he will go out loaded and come back empty. And usually those loads don't weigh that much, so he might only be grossing 80,000 on the way out, and then you know, coming back empty. So I'm gonna park this truck again. We're actually gonna take it back to the Ryder location here this afternoon, but I just wanted to run this truck a little bit, find out a little bit more about it, and see how the engine and transmission work together, which they do very well. I'm not a fan of Freightliner, honestly, but one thing I'll say is it works together pretty good. I mean, I've driven years ago at the Louisville Truck Show, I've driven automatic trucks, a little more jerky. This 12-speed transmission and this Detroit, they fit together pretty nice, just in the little bit that I drove it. What would tell me a whole lot more is if I were to, you know, back it around with 100,000 pounds on. This truck does not have overweight permits, so I can't really do that, but you know, even 80,000 pounds backing it around or backing it up a hill just to see what it would do then. But I'm going to find out this transmission, if it's like an ultra shift or if it's a fully automatic transmission. It seems to me almost like a fully automatic transmission, but it does cut the RPMs when it shifts, so that tells me it might be like an ultra shift or a hybrid. I'm not sure, but it does pretty good in first gear if you're just, you know, want to ease off. So if you look outside right now, I'm not moving, and I just let the clutch out, or sorry, I let off the brake. As soon as I let off the brake, it starts to coast backwards, and then it puts it in gear and will drive front. So there's a little bit there. I think getting that smooth, you can ride the clutch a little bit by pushing on the throttle and the brake, but that's a little bit tricky too. So I think in really tight spots with heavy loads, I think is when this transmission would struggle. But for the most part, like kind of what we were doing with flatbeds, just going out to a job site, parking beside the road, you're not really backing in a tight spot, you're not really heavy. That application, it won't work too bad. We do use our trucks for a lot of different things, so in the winter time we're not as busy hauling, you know, flatbed stone, so they'll use it for other things. Sometimes you want to have a truck that can do everything, so that's where this truck, it wouldn't be able to do that. As far as like dash layout and stuff like that, I mean, obviously this is a lot of plastic in here. I can't really say much about Freightliner because we don't have Freightliner trucks. What you see is what you get here, guys. It's definitely not a Kenworth, definitely not a Peterbilt. This does have the wide cab, so super wide. Oh, notice engine idle performing, shutting down. I'll shut it down ahead of schedule. One thing I want to say also is with Ryder has been great to work with. There's two locations, one in Canandaigua and one in Rochester, kind of the two that we work closely with. And we rented that, or I say we leased that Kenworth T680 through them. They did a great job with that. It's just, it doesn't really work for the application that we need it. And I will say though, Ryder has done great. They've been aggressive when we've needed equipment. They've had it. They worked us equipment sometimes when things were tight. They've done a great job working with us. So that, I really have to give Ryder credit. Like even in this heat of our season, needing a truck, you know, the first truck they gave us wasn't the nicest truck, but they turned around and eventually got us into a brand new truck, or almost brand new truck, which is pretty cool. So that's nice to have a locations that work well with us. And I'll tell you guys, if you are owner operators or if you have a couple trucks on the road, it definitely doesn't hurt to get a rental company close by that you know of or that does good work. You never know when you're gonna need that van trailer, when you're gonna need that flatbed or whatever. We actually have, I think we have a reefer rented through Ryder right now. There's different equipment you can rent with them. I always tell guys is get set up. There's many times where we kind of sometimes we'll quote with Ryder, say, hey, you know what's the price on this? This was before we were set up with Ryder, but finally we got set up with them just in case. Because there came this point where when I wanted to rent something, it was like, oh, you got to do this paperwork, you got to get this insurance, and on, and it was kind of a mess. Sometimes your insurance might not have the right requirements, so get set up ahead of time. That way, if you do need a piece of equipment, they're right there to take care of you. And the fuel mileage, let's check it out. Let's see what the numbers are. I'll tell you my 2 cents is I think I'm gonna go with Ryder on this one, or I say I'm gonna go with Freightliner on this one. I think this truck is gonna beat it. It's gonna beat out the Kenworth in fuel economy. I would say this truck better beat out the Kenworth in fuel economy. It better would, because it's got a smaller motor. It's got all this new technology is supposed to be better, right? It's got a 12-speed automatic transmission. When you see it was in economy mode, even in both modes, it only went to certain RPMs and it forced that truck to shift. You can't really override that. Maybe you can, but it's got to be a headache to every time override that. It's got an automatic shutdown so that this thing won't idle more than a few minutes and it shuts right down. So all those things work together for better fuel economy. You got there's probably the 3 things is, number 1 is the smaller motor. So it's a 13-liter motor versus a 15-liter motor. You have a automatic transmission versus a standard transmission, which you can now tell it when to shift. A lot of drivers don't always shift at the right time. The other thing is the automatic shutdown. So this truck is you're not gonna be able to let it sit there and idle. So those 3 things kind of go hand in hand to fuel economy. The second one, I do not want to say that just because our Kenworth doesn't match up to it in fuel mileage, meaning the driver's not driving it right. But what I'm saying is the optimum performance every single time, to hit that nail on the head every single time. A computer is going to do it a little bit better than a human, because it's going to always shift at 1400 RPMs. It's going to always shift at 1600 RPMs. So whereas, you know, a human isn't really going to think about that. You know, you kind of go with your mind, and it could be 1450, it could be 1500, it could be 1350, it varies. At the end of the day, that engine is always working the same amount. So let's see what it is. There's three key factors. Here in the office, got some specs for you. So real quick on the DT12, I'll just read it. Basically what it says is it's an automatic or automated 12-speed transmission, and it has creep mode. So the features of creep mode, which I think is what kind of helped me taking off really slow or backing up when I was backing in. That was definitely pretty cool. As far as engine choices, we'll go back to that. So what I did is I went on Freightliner's website. You can basically build a truck, and it gives me, for engine options, it gives me the DD13 and the DD15, and then the Cummins. Here it is. I basically have to go to custom powertrain because I'm not choosing a Detroit, but it lets me see all the options. So you have the DD13, you have the DD15, and then you have the X15. Obviously the one they want you to pick is this one. So I'll pull the details on this. As far as horsepower, that's what I'm trying to check. I don't see any horsepower rating, but I'm guessing it's probably around 450, 475. I'm surprised it doesn't give me details. So it's kind of weird why it doesn't give me horsepower rating. Not a big deal, but like I said, I'm guessing it's probably in that between 400 and 500 range. All right, I want to show you something else about fuel economy. We'll get into fuel economy. We have this system called Link to Pump. It's a really cool system. If you guys ever need a fueling system, check it out. Basically, when our drivers pull in, they have to enter a code, which is their driver identification number. Then they enter the truck number and they enter the mileage. So every time we can track fuel economy, we can track when they fueled, how many gallons, on and on. So I can pull a report for basically whenever I want, and I can see what fuel economy is. So here it is. I'll just read it for you real quick. Interestingly enough, on truck number 118, this goes May 1 through June 30, the fuel economy on that truck was 5.64. I chose that time frame because that is when that truck was running in Rochester, or at least most of the time, trying to get the most identical work possible. So that's when that truck was running up there. So 5.64 on truck number 118, and that is a 475 cat with a Super 10. Comparing to this Freightliner. You ready for that? Unfortunately, I won't have exact because I don't know how much def it's using, but that is a cost that you have to figure in there. Hence, I got papers, right? Basically, driver time and worksheet says his his miles and gallons that he used all through these papers. And it wasn't quite accurate as far as the miles. So I basically started from his first time he hopped in that truck, which was 8,475, and he ended at 12,292. 722 is when he started and ended at 827. I wrote down here 2,644 miles, 2,644 divided by, and 442 gallons, 442. Comes to a grand total of 5.98 miles a gallon. So just so better. I think it was like, what, 5.64 for the Kenworth. Now, one thing you gotta take into consideration is DEF fluid. Does not take DEF for the Kenworth. The Freightliner does. I'm not sure what that cost is per mile. I don't know the usage on that truck. That's something a whole lot harder to track. I say harder to track, but it's not something that we were tracking, so I can't, maybe you guys can help me out and let me know approximately what DEF usage is per mile. I better not guess. I was thinking that for some reason in that 10 to 20 cents a mile range for DEF. I don't know. There you have it. 5.98 to 5.64. Then you have to deal with the new emission motor, things like that. So not much better. And I can guarantee you 100%, I could take that Freightliner to places that could tweak that truck and get 7 miles to the gallon or better. I could definitely do some tweaking to that truck, meaning deleting that emission system. Deleting that emission system, I know you could get a lot better fuel economy with it. It's crazy how these new trucks get horrible fuel economy. And just kind of case in point, I was looking for the month of May and June at some of our new trucks or some of our fleet, and I looked at some of the new ones. So truck number 130, 131, and 132. They would be those new emission trucks. They are some of the worst performing trucks in the fleet. 4.36, 4.64, and 5.14. Not very good. A lot of our other trucks get better than that. Truck number 147, he's on tank a lot. He is 5.62. I got truck number 125, that's a C12, 5.32. 4.72 on truck 112, 4.5 on truck 123, like the 389 glider, 5.05, 5.46, 5.18. You can see it's definitely a little bit better. Gives you a little idea where we're looking at with fuel economy. On top of that, we still have to add DEF on those new trucks. So those new trucks should be getting better fuel economy, but they're getting worse or about the same fuel economy. But that's what you have nowadays with these new emission trucks. You can delete these trucks and you can get a lot better fuel economy. You don't have to worry about adding DEF. You don't have to worry about getting those plastic jugs to put DEF in. So you're saving the environment just right there. Not having to buy those plastic. What are you gonna do with that plastic? It's gonna end up in the bottom of the ocean. All right, guys, so much for this rant today. But gives you a little look comparing Kenworth, Freightliner. If you guys are still watching, you get to ride with me to Canandaigua. I gotta take this truck back. We're gonna go for a little cruise. So I get to drive it again. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So one thing I wanna point out when driving this truck. So I'm going along here at about 5 miles an hour. And it tends to wanna shift up and then shift down. So I was just kind of hunting for that gear. So you speed up a little bit and it'll wanna shift. And then as soon as you slow down a little bit, it'll want to shift again, and it becomes a little jerky ride. So that's one of the things, I think you can put that in manual and override it. some of the frustrations of running automatic. I'm sure if I ran this truck for a whole week, I would probably have a few more frustrations. I'm here at Ryder, dropping this thing off. There's some frustrating things. One thing is that box up there, I think, is what is guiding some of this truck. And as soon as I hit the white line or any lines, it's dinging at me, beeping at me. Following too closely, it's beeping at me. It's always something. Kind of frustrating. I just want to drive. I don't want to be beeped at. So that's one of my little pet peeves with it. So while I was at Ryder, this truck was done early, so I'm just gonna take this truck back. I was gonna have my dad pick me up, but I'm gonna take this truck back. 565 Cummins, 13 speed, and 355 ratio in the rears. I know that because I ordered this truck. Get a little air in this seat. So this truck, obviously layout's a lot different. Still a wide cab, got a lot of room. The cab of these trucks, like the interior, if you can get past the outside, the interiors are actually pretty nice. So, and we're back. Guys, thanks for taking a ride with me today. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.